What's up, guys? Scott here, Wandering the Wilderness. Originally didn't have much intention on even doing a video today. I was going to come out here, practice some skills. I've had a day and a half of rain. Thought I would practice my fire building with wet materials and see how I could go about doing that. Thought about shooting a squirrel and cooking some lunch. I was up on the ridge back there where I shot that 9-point, and I was tapping a broken in half shell against my shotgun, and a red fox came up about 15 yards from me. It was pretty awesome. I guess I had gotten into the habit of hearing those squirrels cracking those shells and was coming out to get them a little bite to eat, and ended up seeing me. Beautiful animal to be able to see out here. Might set a trap for him, who knows. But what I was going to go ahead and show you, since I'm out here, you see this white on this pine tree? That's all pine sap. And one just I don't know, 15 yards over, I followed the top of this up, and I just popped that bark back, and it just started pouring out of there like pure liquid. And I'd never seen that before, but you can see where the tree is injured, and what it'll do is it will run that sap to protect the tree. And what we can do as outdoorsmen is you can collect that bark that has that sap all in it, and it's going to be much more flammable because the sap itself is highly flammable. Also found a couple of branches that were coming off of a dead pine, and that's all fat wood inside there. So I'm going to go over to my fire pit and build me a fire. Alright guys, so on my bench here you can see I've got this broken up into tinder, kindling, and fuel. So I just wanted to go through that. Some of you guys, I'm sure, already know this, but there might be folks out there might get some of it a little confused or may have difficulty in establishing that fire off the landscape, especially in a wet environment. So kindling, or tinder, sorry, is that initial paper-like stuff that you're going to use to get your initial flame. In this case, I have river birch and I have cedar, and it's mostly wet. Some of it's dry because I got it from the underside of the tree. All right, so that is your tinder. All right, with that I have a accelerant, we'll say, and that would be things like your pine sap that I collected off of those pine trees. All right, and just areas of rich pine sap. That's going to be, maybe I should call that more of a fire extender than an accelerant, but it is something that really catches and holds that flame easily, and as the sap melts, it's going to extend the life of that flame. So it's going to help your wet items to dry out, because that sap, it's not going to be affected by the moisture. So once it's burning and it'll slowly melt, it'll help dry out and extend your flame. That's what I should call it, a fire extender. Now, these two pieces of pine, as you can tell, this section went into a down pine tree, all right? But that whole area right there, all that white is pine sap, and in the center is a really rich orange, and that's the heartwood. That is the center section of the wood where the sap from the pine tree tends to flow to bring the life and protection of this tree when it was alive. Now, sometimes in the process of the tree dying, it's going to pump that sap into those branches to try to survive. And when it finally is dead, that sap, that heartwood, is a high resinous wood. So this is going to be another fire extender. And these things are what's really going to help you build a fire in a wet or less than ideal conditions. Now, next is our kindling. Now, kindling is the pile of sticks that are small. All right, the majority of these, and they often get called smalls or whatever, but the majority of these are sticks that are going to be much smaller than a pencil, right? So every one of these are really small, not much bigger than the lead of the pencil, to be honest, okay? Some of them go up to, half the pencil size. Some of them go all the way down to pencil lead size. So this is your smallest stuff. It's going to take the least amount of heat to get these to catch on fire. All right, and that's your kindling. The next is what we call fuel. All right, and this is the stuff pencil size and larger. All right, this is what, after your tinder has caught fire, your fire extender is going, and your kindling is initially catching on fire. This is the bigger stuff that we're trying to dry out to get caught on fire before we can move up to larger sizes, okay? So when you are in wet or less than ideal conditions, the tinder and kindling and the extenders are what you want a lot of to prolong that flame, to help dry out the fuel and the kindling so that you can really extend that fire. All right, so hopefully that has helped you guys get a better understanding of, you know, tinder, kindling, fire, and a fire extender. So I'm going to process some of this stuff, and I'm going to adjust camera over to my fire pit, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to get this fire going. And I'm only going to be using a ferro rod. All right, so I'm going to get that taken care of, and I'll show you how I build a fire out here. Well, you can see all that bright orange. That's that resin from the pine tree. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm feathering this out some, giving me some smaller stuff again to extend my flame. And also, when you've had a heavy rain, all of the outside edges of the wood is what's going to be wet. All right, so you want to try to get to that intersection that's dry. All right, so got that together. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn over to the 90-degree spine of my knife, and I'm going to get a good section of that really fine stuff. This is what's going to be really easy to take by your ferro rod. And if you put the work on the front end, you should only have to strike that thing a time or two, and you should be in good shape. All right, so I got that section there about the size of a quarter. All right.